Welcome to the Unsolved America series. I'm your host, Scott Stevens. Today we are looking at 5 missing persons cases in Georgia that remain listed by law enforcement. Every case in this video is based on official information from the GBI. If you know anything about any of these cases, contact law enforcement directly. Georgia has many missing person cases that still have no clear resolution. These are not just names on a case page, they are sons, daughters, friends, parents, and people whose families have spent years waiting for one phone call, one tip, or one answer. And at number 5, Catrina Renee Jackson. Catrina was only 13 years old when she disappeared from Sylvania, Georgia. On May 29, 1986, Catrina was reported missing after it was discovered that she had been absent from school and had not come home that afternoon. That detail is heartbreaking because it sounds like the beginning of an ordinary day. A child goes to school and a family expects her to come home, but Catrina never did. The GBI says she was last seen wearing blue jeans, blue sneakers, and a black t-shirt with Daytona Beach on the front and a wristband with Renee on it. Decades have passed, but Catrina's case still matters. Somewhere, someone may remember something. A small detail from 1986 could still be the missing piece. And at number 4, Jesus Mencilla Velez. Jesus was last seen on September 5th, 2020 in Warner Robins, Georgia. According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, he has not been heard from since that date. His car was later found abandoned on a dirt road in Crawford County by a landowner. After Jesus disappeared, a multi-agency task force was formed to help search for him. That task force included the GBI, the Houston County Sheriff's Office, the Crawford County Sheriff's Office, the Peach County Sheriff's Office, the Byron Police Department, and the Fort Valley Police Department. That alone tells you how serious this case became. But even with extensive search efforts, Jesus still has not been located. What makes this case so painful is the silence. A vehicle left behind, a family still waiting, no clear answer about what happened after he was last seen. And at number 3, Jenna Van Gilderen. Jenna was 25 years old when she disappeared from Atlanta, Georgia. She was house sitting for her parents when she had her last known contact, a phone call with a friend in South Carolina around 1:15 in the morning on August 19, 2017. The GBI says Jenna was driving a blue 2010 Mazda 6. That car was later found abandoned in Atlanta. That detail is what makes this case stay with people. Jenna was supposed to be in a safe, familiar place. She was taking care of her parents' home. Then suddenly she was gone and her car turned up without her. For the people who love Jenna, time has not made the questions easier. It has only made the silence louder. Jenna remains missing and the GBI continues to ask for tips. And at number 2, Justin Glenn Gaines. Justin was 18 years old and a college freshman when he vanished in Gwinnett County. According to the GBI, Justin was last seen in the early morning hours of November 2nd, 2007, after walking out of Wild Bill's in Duluth, Georgia. The GBI says he was never actually seen leaving the property. That is what makes this case so haunting. There is a last place, there is a last moment, but there is no confirmed answer about where Justin went next. At the time, Justin was wearing a gray Abercrombie t-shirt and blue jeans with holes in them. The GBI says it is not known if foul play was involved in his disappearance. Justin's family has spent years waiting for answers that still have not come. And then at number 1, Keeslyn Noel Roberts. Keeslyn was 20 years old when she disappeared from Gordon County, Georgia. The GBI lists her as her last seen date as January 28, 2020, at the Flying J truck stop in Resaca. There are missing person cases that feel unsettling because of how little is known, and Keeslyn's case is one of them. A young woman was last seen at a busy truck stop, a place where people come and go constantly. Drivers, workers, travelers, strangers passing through, and then she was gone. The GBI lists Keeslyn's case as an active missing persons case and asks anyone with information to contact the GBI Region 1 Calhoun office. Keesland's family deserves answers. Her name deserves to keep being spoken, and somebody somewhere may know something that could help bring the truth forward. Well, those were 5 cases, and they are only a small part of Georgia's missing persons records. Behind every case is a family still living with uncertainty. If you know anything about Catrina Renee Jackson, Jesus Mancilla Velez, Jenna Van Gilderen, Justin Glenn Gaines, or Keesland Noel Roberts, contact law enforcement. Do not send tips to this YouTube channel. Do not post rumors as facts. Contact the proper investigators. For more fact-based cold case, missing person, and unsolved mystery stories, subscribe to the Unsolved America series. I'm your host, Scott Stevens, and we'll see you soon. Tonight on Vanished in America, we are looking at 5 people from 5 different parts of the country who disappeared and never came home. Their ages were different, their lives were different, the places they vanished from were different, but every story leaves behind the same kind of pain. Someone was loved, someone was expected back, someone had a future, and then without a clear answer, they were gone. Every case in this episode is based on official records, public reports, and credible sources. No rumors, no accusations, just the facts that are known, the questions that remain, and the names that still deserve to be remembered. The first case is Jason David Landry. Jason was 21 years old, a student at Texas State University, and on December 13, 2020, he was believed to be driving from San Marcos toward his family home in the Houston area. It should have been a normal drive, the kind of trip a college student makes without knowing it will become the last confirmed part of their life. His family was waiting. There was a road home. There was a destination, but Jason never made it. His silver 2003 Nissan Altima was found abandoned outside Luling, Texas, after a single vehicle crash. The car was there, Jason was not. According to the Texas Attorney General's office, Jason's phone activity helped investigators trace part of his route. His phone last connected to the Waze navigation app around 11:26 p.m. near Magnolia Avenue and Austin Street in Luling. Investigators believe he continued straight instead of turning toward the route that would have taken him to I-10. From there, the trail led towards Salt Flat Road, a rural stretch outside of town. Sometime after that, Jason's car crashed near the 2300 block of Salt Flat Road. Officials have said there was no evidence that another vehicle was involved. His car was found in the early morning hours of December 14th. Some of his belongings were found at or near the scene, including his backpack and clothing. Investigators have said they believe Jason survived the crash, but what happened after that has never been confirmed. That is what makes this case so painful. A crash explains why the car stopped. It does not explain where Jason went. It does not explain why search teams, dogs, drones, line searches, and later searches did not bring him home. It does not explain how a young man could disappear from a rural Texas road and leave his family with nothing but questions. Jason was not a mystery to the people who loved him. He was their son, their brother, their friend. And years later, the truth is still incomplete. Jason Landry disappeared on his way home, and his family is still waiting. The second case is Jaliek Rainwalker. Jaliek was 12 years old when he disappeared from Greenwich, New York in November of 2007. He was last seen wearing blue jeans, a yellow fleece pullover, and black shoes. New York State Police list his last known location as Hill Street in Greenwich and have stated that foul play is suspected. Jaliek was still a child, and that matters. At 12 years old, he had a voice and a personality, fears and habits, and a life still forming. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children notes that he had a slight speech impediment and pronounced the letter R like a W. That small detail stays with you because it brings him back from the flatness of a poster. It reminds you that Jaliek was a real boy with a real voice. The known public facts are limited. He disappeared from Greenwich. Law enforcement has treated the case as suspicious. Foul play is suspected. No one has been convicted in connection with his disappearance. Over the years, there have been reports and public questions about the circumstances around the night he vanished. But the most important fact remains unchanged. Jaliek Rainwalker was 12 years old, and he was never found. A child does not vanish from a small town without leaving pain behind. People remember, investigators remember, families remember. Time can move on for the world, but it does not move the same way for the people left behind. Jaliek should have grown up. He should have had birthdays, school years, mistakes, chances, and ordinary days. Instead, his childhood is frozen in one missing person photograph. Jaliek Rainwalker is still missing, and his name still deserves to be spoken. The third case is Myra Rena Lewis. Myra was only 2 years old when she disappeared from Camden, Mississippi on March 1st, 2014. 2 years old, barely past babyhood. According to the FBI, she was last seen by family members between 10:30 and 11 that morning, playing outside her home. She was wearing a turquoise sweater with a bear on the front, light-colored pants, and pink tennis shoes. Those details are almost too small to hold. A little sweater, pink shoes, a child playing outside. Then suddenly everything changed. Myra's disappearance appears to have happened in a narrow window of time near her home. Official sources do not give a complete minute-by-minute explanation, but the core fact is devastating. Myra was outside, and then she was gone. A toddler cannot explain where she is going. She cannot protect herself the way an older child might. She depends on the world around her to be safe. That is why Myra's case hurts so deeply. It happened in daylight. It happened at home. It happened to a little girl who should have been within reach of safety. Searches were conducted. The FBI came involved. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children continued to share her case and later released an age-progressed image because time did not stop after Myra disappeared. That is one of the cruelest parts of a missing child case. The public remembers the child as they were, but the family has to imagine every age they never got to see. First school days, birthdays, missing teeth, growing taller, becoming someone new. Myra Lewis should not be remembered only for the day she vanished. She was a little girl with a life, a family, and a name. More than a decade later, she is still missing. The public truth remains painfully unfinished. Myra was last seen playing outside her home in Camden, Mississippi, and no confirmed explanation has publicly established what happened to her. The fourth case is Tabitha Danielle Tudors. Tabitha was 13 years old when she disappeared from Nashville, Tennessee on April 29, 2003. She left home that morning to go to her school bus stop. She never got on the bus, she never made it to school, and she never came home. That is what makes this case so chilling. It began with a normal morning, a child leaving for school, a short walk, a routine that should have been safe and forgettable. For most families, mornings pass without much thought. Someone says goodbye, someone shuts the door, someone expects to see their child again later that day. Tabitha's family did not know that ordinary morning would become the last confirmed part of her story. The Nashville Cold Case page gives one of the clearest public details about what happened. It states that Tabitha was last seen around 7 a.m. walking to her bus stop near South 14th Street and Lillian Street. Neighbors and other children waiting for the bus reportedly saw her. A red car was observed stopped near where she was last seen. When that car drove away, Tabitha was gone. That detail does not tell us who was in the car. It does not prove exactly what happened, but it gives the disappearance a terrifying shape. One moment, Tabitha was walking to school. The next, she vanished. More than 20 years have passed. Nashville has changed, people have moved, Children who were her age at the time are adults now. But for Tabitha's family, one part of time stayed broken. No parent should have to wonder what happened between home and a school bus stop. No family should have to measure life by the number of years their child has been missing. There have been tips. There have been questions about vehicles. There have been renewed efforts to keep her name alive, but the facts have not changed. Tabitha Tudors was 13 years old. She left for school. She never boarded the bus. She never arrived at school, and she has never been seen or heard from since. The fifth case is Kortne Sierra Stouffer. Kortne was 21 years old when she disappeared from Myra, Pennsylvania on July 29, 2012. According to the FBI's VICAP listing, her last known contact was around 3:30 in the morning when Palmyra police responded to a disturbance. After that, Kortne vanished. The FBI says foul play is expected, and NamUs lists her disappearance as suspicious. Kortne's case is frightening because she disappeared from a place that should have been safe. Her apartment, her own space. The place where someone should be able to close the door and feel protected from the world outside. Public reporting says she had been out with friends in the hours before she vanished and was back at her apartment by the early morning. Police responded to a disturbance, and the FBI marks 3:30 a.m. as her last known contact. After that, the trail goes cold. What was left behind makes the case even harder to accept. Reports have stated that her phone was left behind, her wallet was left behind, her car was still there, her dog was still there. Those are not things that most people leave behind when they simply walk away from their life. That does not tell us exactly what happened, but it helps explain why investigators have treated the case as suspicious. Kortne had blonde hair, green eyes, and several tattoos, including one love on her right arm, 3 stars on the top of her right foot, and a tattoo on her left side of a pistol shooting flowers. Those details matter because Kortne was not just a missing person file. She was a young woman with her own style, her own choices, her own future, and people who loved her. Somewhere between the last known contact and the silence that followed, something happened. More than a decade later, Kortne still has not been found. So there you have 5 cases. Jason Landry in Texas, Jaliek Rainwalker in New York, Myra Lewis in Mississippi, Tabitha Tudors in Tennessee, Kortne Stouffer in Pennsylvania. 5 lives interrupted. 5 families left with questions no one should have to carry. Some were children, some were young adults. Some cases involve suspected foul play, others remain unclear. But every one of them deserves attention, respect, and the chance for answers. If you know anything about any of these cases, contact the proper law enforcement agency listed on the official missing persons pages. Even if the details seem small, even if years have passed, even if you think someone else already said it, say it anyway. Missing person cases have been solved because one person finally spoke, one memory came back, or one overlooked detail reached the right investigator. This has been Vanished in America. Remember their names. They are more than photographs. They are more than dates. They are more than the worst thing that may have happened to them. They mattered before they vanished, and they still matter now. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you like these types of videos. We look forward to hearing from you. There are some missing person cases that stay with people because they are tragic. Then there are others that stay with people because they feel almost impossible to understand. Patricia Meehan's disappearance is one of those cases. It is the kind of story that does not leave you with one simple question. It leaves you with dozens. How does someone survive a car accident, walk away from the scene, and then vanish so completely that decades later, no one can say for sure what happened to her? Patricia Meehan did not disappear from a crowded city. She did not vanish after announcing a trip. She did not leave behind a clear plan, a goodbye, or a simple explanation. She disappeared after a head-on collision on Highway 200 near Circle, Montana on April 20th, 1989. That is the official outline of the case. But the outline does not explain the fear, confusion, and mystery that followed. It does not explain how a woman can be connected to a real event in a real place with witnesses nearby and still somehow disappear into the dark. This is not just a strange story from Montana. This is a story of a real woman named Patricia Bernadette Meehan. She was 37 years old when she vanished. She was known as Patty to some who knew her. She had a life before this case, a family who loved her, and people who would spend years looking for answers that never came. Before Patricia became part of an unsolved mystery, she was a daughter. She was a person with her own thoughts, worries, dreams, and struggles. And that is important to remember because cases like this can become so strange that the person at the center gets lost behind the mystery. On the night of April 20th, 1989, Patricia was on Montana Highway 200 near Circle. If you have never seen that part of the country, it is hard to fully understand the kind of emptiness that can exist out there. Montana can be beautiful in a way that almost does not feel real. Long stretches of road, wide open land, huge skies. But at night, that beauty can turn into something else. The road gets quiet, the headlights become the only thing you can really see. And beyond them, the landscape can feel endless. That night, Patricia was involved in a head-on collision. Official missing persons records state that she went missing in the aftermath of that crash. That one sentence is simple, but the reality behind it is anything but simple. Most accidents leave behind a scene that can be studied. There are vehicles, there are witnesses, there is damage. There is a point where investigators can begin asking questions. But in Patricia's case, the accident was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of her disappearance. After the crash, Patricia was gone. This is the part of the case that has haunted people for decades. She was not found injured nearby. She was not taken to a hospital. She was not located walking down the road a short time later. She simply vanished from the aftermath of an accident that should have made her easier to find, not harder. When you slow the story down, the horror of it becomes clearer. There was a crash, there was confusion, there was darkness, and then somewhere in the middle of all of that, Patricia left the known world behind. The place where she had been was no longer enough to explain where she went. The road, the wreckage, the witnesses, and the official reports all point to one moment in time, but they do not carry the story beyond it. That is what makes this case so unsettling. Patricia's disappearance did not unfold over several days. It did not begin with her packing a bag and quietly leaving town. It happened after a sudden traumatic event, a collision, a shock, a moment where the body and mind can both be thrown into survival mode. And if Patricia was injured, frightened, disoriented, or even confused, then the world around her may not have looked the way it normally would. A rural highway is easy to understand when you are inside a car. You follow the road, you know where it goes, you trust the lines, the signs, the direction, but step away from that road at night, especially after trauma, and everything changes. Distance becomes harder to judge, direction becomes uncertain. What seems close may not be close at all. What seems safe may lead to nowhere. In a place like Montana, one wrong direction can turn into miles of emptiness. That is one possibility people have considered over the years. Maybe Patricia was hurt. Maybe she did not understand what had happened. Maybe she was trying to get away from the crash, or trying to get help, or simply moving because her mind was not processing the moment correctly. But that is only one possibility, and that is the problem. There are too many possibilities and not enough answers. In missing persons cases, families often cling to the smallest details because sometimes those details are all they have. What was she wearing? Where was she last seen? What direction might she have gone? Did anyone see her after that? Did she speak to anyone? Was she alone? Every question matters because every answer might narrow the distance between uncertainty and the truth. Namus lists Patricia's clothing as jeans and a brown coat. Those details sound ordinary until you imagine someone searching for her. A woman in jeans, a brown coat, somewhere near a Montana highway, somewhere after a crash, somewhere lost in the dark. Details like that become more than descriptions. They become the image a family carries, the image searchers look for, and the image that strangers might have been asked to remember. But Patricia was not found that night. She was not found the next day. And as time passed, her disappearance grew even more confusing. There were reported sightings over the years, and like many cases with possible sightings, they brought hope and pain at the same time. A sighting can feel like a lifeline, but if it doesn't lead to the missing person, it can reopen the wound all over again. That is one of the cruelest parts of a disappearance like this. Hope does not always feel gentle. Sometimes hope is exhausting. Sometimes it keeps a family moving when there is nowhere else to go. Sometimes it makes every phone call feel like it could change everything. And sometimes after the call ends, the silence comes back, even heavier than before. For Patricia's family, this was not just an unusual case people would later discuss online or see on television. This was their loved one. This was someone missing from birthdays, holidays, conversations, and everyday life. The rest of the world could look at this case and see mystery. Her family had to live with the absence. That is why it matters how we talk about cases like this. Patricia Meehan should not be remembered only as the woman who vanished after a car accident. She should be remembered as a human being who deserves safety, help, and answers. Her family deserved answers too. They deserved to know whether she was alive somewhere, whether she was hurt, whether someone saw her, whether someone helped her, or whether something happened after she left the crash scene that has never been uncovered. One of the reasons Patricia's case continues to draw attention is because it feels like it should have been solvable. There was a date, there was a road, there was an incident, there was a known area. In many cases, investigators begin with almost nothing. Here, there was a starting point, and yet the starting point did not lead to Patricia. That is what makes this case feel so deeply haunting. It is not simply that Patricia disappeared. It is that she disappeared from a moment where she had just been seen. She'd just been involved in an accident, just been connected to the physical world in a very real way. Then, the trail faded. When people hear about this case, they often focus on the strangeness first. They picture the highway, they picture the crash, they even picture the idea of someone walking away and vanishing. But the emotional center of the story is not the strangeness. It is the unanswered loss. A woman was there, and then she was gone. Her loved ones were left behind with a case file instead of closure. Over time, Patricia Meehan's disappearance became one of Montana's most talked about mysteries. It was featured in public case coverage and has remained the subject of discussion for decades. But attention is not the same as resolution. A case can be famous and still be unsolved. A name can be known and still not be found. A story can be repeated many times and still leave the family with nothing solid to hold on to. That is why old cases still need to be talked about carefully, not for entertainment alone, not because they are strange, but because someone is still missing. Patricia's name is still listed in official missing person records. Her case still has an investigating agency attached to it. That means this story is not finished. It means the questions are still open. There is also something about the Montana landscape that becomes a bit a part of this story. Highway 200 near Circle is not just a location on a map. It represents the kind of place where a person can feel very small against the land. In daylight, the openness can be peaceful. At night, after trauma, it can feel isolating. If Patricia walked away from the crash, every step would have taken her farther from the one place people knew to search first. And yet, despite searches, reports, attention, and time, Patricia was never located. That is the fact that sits at the center of everything. Theories can circle around it, questions can build around it, but the fact remains, Patricia Meehan disappeared on April 20th, 1989, after a head-on collision near Circle, Montana, and she has not been found. When a person disappears, their story often becomes frozen at the last unknown moment. For Patricia, that moment is the highway, but no one's life should be reduced to the place where they were last seen. Patricia had years before that night. She had family, memories, and a life that mattered long before the road near Circle became part of her story. That is why the way we tell these stories matters. It is easy to make a case sound eerie. It is harder, but more important, to make it human. Patricia was not an internet mystery. She was not a character in a strange tale. She was a real woman who disappeared, whose disappearance left real people hurting. And that is why the unanswered questions still matter. What was Patricia experiencing in the moments after the crash? Was she aware of where she was? Was she injured or hurt? Did she believe she needed to leave? Did someone encounter her later? Did someone give her a ride? Did she become lost in the surrounding area? Or is there another answer that has never come to light? The most honest answer is that we just simply do not know. And sometimes that is the hardest part of true crime. Not the theories, not the strange details, not even the fear. It is the not knowing. It is the space between the last confirmed moment and the truth. It is the silence that stretches for years. For Patricia Meehan's family, that silence began in 1989. For the public, the case may feel like a mystery. For them, it was a life changed forever. A missing daughter, a missing loved one, a person that could not be brought back home. There is a phrase often used in missing person cases. Someone knows something. Sometimes that is true in a direct way. Sometimes it means someone saw something small and never realized it mattered. Maybe someone saw a woman matching Patricia's description after the crash. Maybe someone remembers a conversation. Maybe someone heard a story years ago that did not make sense at the time. Maybe there's a detail sitting in someone's memory that could still help. That is why sharing these stories still matters, not because we can solve them from a distance, but because keeping a name alive keeps the possibility of answers alive. Cases go cold when people stop talking. Names fade when people stop saying them. But Patricia Meehan's name still deserves to be spoken. Her disappearance is strange, yes. It is haunting, it's very unsettling, but more than anything, it is unfinished. Patricia Meehan vanished after a head-on collision on Highway 200 near Circle, Montana on April 20th, 1989. She was 37 years old. Official records still list her as missing, and decades later, the question remains the same. Where is Patricia Meehan? If you have any information about Patricia Meehan's disappearance, contact the Macomb County Sheriff's Office or submit information through NamUs. After all these years, one detail could still matter. Thank you for watching the Unsolved America series. If you care about real missing person cases, cold cases, and stories that deserve to be remembered with compassion, subscribe to this channel, because every case matters, every name matters, and every unanswered story deserves to be heard.